help the audience understand kind of where you came from. Like Jessie is not Jessica, is not Jess, she is Jessie, but from Glendale, born and raised in Glendale, and literally like hood. Hey, like team spirit.
This crazy mom.
She had a great chest, nice smile, and I was like, she's either going to be my friend or my enemy.
Which one? And I think that as a police officer's wife, you hear a lot the stress and anxiety and worry while they're out. And it's so scary. And you want them to come home to, us. Like I want him to come home to me and the girls. They kind of gave me the reins to go with things. So it's just been neat to look and see what I could change and be a part of. And while everybody else was, clocking in and out for the day, that wasn't me. Going through photos, we have less and less, but it's not that we've done less. It's that we've been so present in the moments that we've taken less pictures because our phones have been down and we've just enjoyed it.
This is the Sprinter Mom with Lashes On podcast.
Okay, well, I'm so excited to introduce you. On Sprinter Mom with Lashes On is my very best friend, Jessie Sauceda. She is here with us today, and she has had, oh my goodness, so many roles in her life. She is boss babe, mom, wifey, all the things. And I'm so excited that she's here to talk with us today because she's had a lot of life experience, and she will be back because we always have lots of things to talk about. So thank you for coming on my podcast, Jessie.
I'm excited. It's been crazy and busy, and I'm glad that we could make the time.
And you're actually one of the first ones I thought of having. And if anyone watched Ryan's episode with Mike Sauceda or DJ Miguelito, that is Jessie's husband. And so that's actually how we met. They were coaching basketball together. And I've told Jessie this before, but the first thing I noticed about her was her perfect boobs because she had them. Our team was maroon. And her daughter and my son were playing basketball together, and she had a maroon top, like she was all marooned out. And I was like, okay, like team spirit.
This crazy mom.
She had a great chest, nice smile. And I was like, she's either going to be my friend or my enemy.
Which one?
I know. And she ended up working with my sister-in-law, and we had this connection. World. And here we are. Gosh, how many years later?
I think it's been
seven or eight.
Yeah.
I bet we're going on 8.
I think so.
And we met through CCB Sports. Tell me how first, I guess, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah. So I've been married to my husband. We were just talking about this. We've been married for, we're going on 13 years this year, together for 18. So it's really crazy. We were the after high school sweethearts, not in high school. We have two daughters.
Because you worked at your high school.
Yes. There's lots of stories. It's been a little interesting. But yeah, we have 2 daughters. So our daughters are little besties. We have these teenagers right now. So our 13-year-olds. And then we have Araya, who is 10, and she is my wild child, keeps me going. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, I enjoy the girls and Mike, and it's our little family of 4.
That's a perfect little family of 4.
Yeah.
We met at CCB Stars, but had you guys always attended church?
No.
Okay. What did that look like for your family?
So we both grew up Catholic, and it was like the holiday Catholics. So you go during Easter and you go on Christmas and you call it a year. And so we were not big in our faith or anything like that. When we were with our kids and trying to raise them as these little young wild things at home, our life was crazy. Our marriage was crazy. Our kids were crazy. Everything just felt kind of out of sorts. And Mike was trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life. I was in the medical field at the time. So working the Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 job, just trying to keep it, everything held down at home. And we just got in this place where we were like, what are we doing? What are we doing in our marriage? What are we doing as parents? It is wild. So we decided, we are either at this crossroads of trying to figure our lives out together or going our separate ways. And we decided, let's check out CCB. We started attending their sports program first.
Okay.
So we were invited by friends to attend sports program, and we really liked the feel of it, the culture. We liked the families that we were around. It was just a warm, welcoming feeling. So we decided to attend the church. We were a little skeptical at first. Growing up Catholic, it's very different. Very different. And I was very closed off at that time. So Mike was open to it. I was completely shut down and closed off. And as we just kept going every weekend to see what God was going to call us to do, we just felt it and cried and enjoyed. And we just really thought that, man, this is what we needed. We started getting closer in our marriage. We got closer in our parenting and on the same page. And as a family, we just felt more whole than the crazy chaos. Even though everything was still the same around us, jobs, school, all of that was still the same. There was just this peace when we decided to attend a Christian church.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Would you say that like attending church and kind of shifting that purpose in your family of saying like, what are we doing, to shifting that purpose to like following God and serving and all that, like where would you guys be had you had not gone that route?
Yeah, it's funny because we go on our date nights, Mike and I, we make sure that we have our one-on-one time, and it's actually something that we've been able to like take a look back and we see where we're at now. And if we wouldn't have made those choices, there's no way that our marriage would have lasted. I don't think that either of us would have the careers that we have right now. I don't think our kids would be in the place that they are, and it would have been a way different life. And I can't imagine what it would have looked like, because I know it wouldn't have been as amazing as it is right now. Like God has definitely blessed our life, and we are living in answered prayers right now.
Yeah. Did you, so I know that you not only shifted kind of in that sense, but you said you were in the medical field. Like you had this career that you put yourself through school for. And then kind of where did you go from there? I know you work for Ohana, but like you do all different things. Like you very much have taught yourself multiple roles, but like, what did it look like to go from the 8 to 4 to bigger stuff?
It was scary at first. It was definitely a leap of faith. I will say that. I had the comfort of the medical field for 11 years. It was something that I had known. It was easy. I could do it in my sleep. And it was easy in the sense of I knew that working in the medical field, I was serving a greater purpose and that I was there for patients. And I had this amazing relationship with them and the physicians I worked with and nurses. So it was very easy to say, okay, this is my job. It's easy. I'm serving a purpose. I'm helping people. I'm walking along their journey. But I wasn't happy. I really wasn't full. And so I'd always loved the business side of things. Even in the medical field, I had always tried to dabble and figure out what I could save money on for the hospital. What little projects could I do that would make an impact in our patients? It was just always, it wasn't enough. What I was doing was definitely not enough. So fast forward later, meeting you guys, and talking and just kind of saying these are the things that I'm passionate about. You guys we went over for dinner one night. It was random.
We're so random.
We went to dinner. We'd already been friends and our kids were already little besties at this point. And so we went over for dinner and Ryan was like, hey, Jessie, I need help with this. Like, could you quit your job tomorrow so that way in 2 weeks you can fly out to LA with me?
Oh, that's right. For F45.
And so we went home that night. I was like, let me think about this. I'll probably have questions I need to ask you. And we went home and I told Mike, can you pray for me for this? And he's like, no. He's like, you have to pray on it. And so we sat on the couch after we put the kids to bed. We talked about it. And he was like, no, you're going to pray. You're going to see how this feels for you. And if this is right, like you've been praying for a change, and see if this is what God's calling you to do. And so prayed it out and took the leap of faith, and it's been amazing. It's been a roller coaster. but really amazing. And I have pushed myself to, just learn the job. And it was not comfortable. It was very uncomfortable going into the unknown. And I think that was the hardest part is I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know what my end goal was.
Yeah.
It was just, let's jump in this and I'm going to try to figure it out. And every day was new and exciting and a grind and just learning and soaking up everything I possibly could.
Yeah. So now really like you've started businesses. You have been in charge of how many employees? A lot.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, at least. I mean, now we have over 500 employees, but at a given time, I've supervised 50 employees.
Yeah. You know how to run HR.
Yes.
You're learning all these rules.
Yes.
You're pretty much setting yourself up to go anywhere from here. Because Ohana has so many different facets.
Yeah, I think in 1 year at Ohana, I had 3 or 4 W-2s because I had done different jobs in different businesses.
Oh my gosh.
It was just funny. You
just
look back.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, you look back and you're like, oh, wow, that's what happened this year.
Yeah. Okay, you have always, you and Mike have worked so hard to get to where you are. Help the audience understand kind of where you came from. Jessie is not Jessica, is not Jess. No. She is Jessie, but from Glendale, born and raised in Glendale, and literally hood. So I wouldn't know that she was hood until she told me later that she was hood. And I was like, okay, I thought I was hood. Where I went to middle school, Choya Middle School, Choya Chargers. I thought I was hood, but you were legit, I'll cut you.
I went to Challenger Middle School.
Yeah, I don't even know. So tell me about, you guys even had a situation. Not only did you put yourself through school because your parents wouldn't pay for it. Yep. But then you even, lived with your mom, did housing together, until you could get your house on your own. Tell us where you started versus here you are.
Yeah. So,
because it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I'm trying to change that for my girls and let them learn from how hard it was for Mike and I. And I think sometimes they don't even see that because they only see the current. But it's nice to be able to go back and tell them, I was raised with my mom and dad who were not in a happy marriage. So that was pretty hard at home to grow up with 2 parents who were miserable and not around each other. So we didn't do the family dinners and go to church, go on vacations. That wasn't really our thing. It was more of a kind of fend for yourself.
You were also the baby of the family. So your siblings were so much older. It was
yeah, my brother's 9 years older than I am. My sister's 7 years older. So they were already moved out of the house. And it was that fend for yourself mentality and kind of you want to survive, you got to do it yourself. And I think that's where it kind of comes from now is it's deep in me that if I want it, I have to just survive and I have to keep pushing forward for it. And so, went to high school, didn't know what I wanted. Well, actually, I did know what I wanted to do after. I wanted to be a nurse. That was my dream since I was a little girl was I'm going to be a nurse one day. I'm going to help people.
So you love caring for people.
Yes. It's it fills my cup. And so that's what I wanted to do. I could definitely not afford to do that. My mom and dad were in a decent financial situation, but told me, nope, you got to figure it out yourself. Life doesn't give you anything for free. There's no handouts. So if you want to do it, you have to figure it out. And so I went to, I worked at JCPenney's of all places. I sold fine jewelry in the evenings. And that way I could pay monthly. I went to Phoenix Community College and I did their medical assisting program. They let me pay monthly for the program. I ended up just working hard to go to school all day, maintain straight A's, and go to work at night. I don't know how I even had good grades because I had no time. It was right after school, I drove straight to worked all night, and then went home, went to bed, and did it all over again. But somehow ended up getting my medical assisting. You have to do an externship at the end of it. And so I did my externship with a very large organization. And I tried to just make sure that I shined when I was there.
Yeah.
Because it's a free externship. It's not paid. You're only there so many weeks to get your hours in, and they can cut you at the end. It's not guaranteed to have a job. So I worked my butt off while I was there. I ended up, the girl who taught me got let go right before my externship. So they offered me her position.
Oh, nice.
So I started working there as a medical assistant. They opened up another location a few years later. So I ended up asking if I could help. And I was like, can I help you guys open up this new location? I kicked butt in the back office. I kicked butt in the lab. And they're like, absolutely. Come on over. Help us. I ended up being in charge of ordering supplies, helping the physician set up. I was in charge of their cash flow inside the office.
Wow.
We had a pharmacy inside. So I was in charge of making sure our pharmacy was on, our front, desk was on, that there was no missing cash, everything was accounted for. And I just had this amazing boss who just kind of took me under her wing and let me do things that were outside of my scope. And so she would just give me these different tasks, and I'd ask for more. And I started going back to school. So I was like, okay, I'm going to chip away classes so I can get my nursing degree. And I ended up getting pregnant with Sophia. So I stopped school, had a baby, was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Started chipping away at classes again, got pregnant with Araya. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to just focus on being a mom, and ended up, doing what I could there. And once I kind of outgrew that organization, I went to a hospital and did that for another 5 years. So it was just grinding and just showing the people that I worked with and the mentors that I had above me that I was willing to do anything, and I was going to make it happen.
Yeah. And you've always kind of fought for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was whatever I could figure out and learn on my own. And if I could, find a solution to something and bring it to, my boss and say, hey, I have an idea. This is what I want to do. And they kind of gave me the reins to go with things. So it's just been neat to look and see what I could change and be a part of. And while everybody else was, clocking in and out for the day, that wasn't me.
Yeah. I think one of the things I love about you and your work ethic has been, there's no, well, that's not my job. And so you're always picking up things where it needs to be picked up, or delegating it to people and teaching them the right way. Because if they do it the wrong way, then someone else is going to pick up that slack or whatever. But the other thing is, and I think what I love, what I say like a boss babe would be, is someone who's kind of unemotional about it. Because I think that there are probably times you've gone home and cried in the car. And we all have, but I think there's a difference between crying in the car or crying at home to your spouse or whoever it is versus crying at work. And I think that women oftentimes it's a good thing if you're able to be vulnerable, and that's wonderful and great. But also if you can't do your job because of the emotions, it overtakes oh man, you gotta go. Yes. And it's not fun.
Yeah, I think as a female, we are more emotional, of course. And so to walk in, we can go into work and depending on the situation, be in our feels, but I don't have time for that. We can't sit in that. We got to keep pushing forward, and there will be a time that we can set aside for ourselves to let it out. And that's what I'll do. Just like you said, in the car, okay, let me get this out before I get home.
Yeah.
But at work, no, I'm going to keep pushing and moving forward. And I want the people around me to keep pushing forward. If I'm a sobbing mess, that doesn't really help my team. So we're going to just keep pushing and fighting through it.
But you've never been a complainer. You've never been this is not my job. You just do the work. And you show up. I think your husband's like that too, though. Mike is like that. He's like, oh, you got a gap? I'm going to fill in the gap. And he just comes around and does his jolly stuff. Now, your husband is a police officer. Can you share with everyone, all my 4 listeners. But can you share what the process of him getting into the city of Phoenix looked like, and then like how that affected you, just with your emotions or like nerves or worries? Like, how does that look for your family when you know he's going out every day and really fighting for the city?
Yeah. I mean, when Mike first told me that he wanted to be a police officer, I was very shocked. I didn't think that it wasn't something he grew up or, as we were dating, it was never anything that he wanted to do. His life was coaching, teaching, mentoring. It was nothing to do in law enforcement. And so he shared with me, this is what I really want to do. And it was in the moment of our struggles in our marriage, right before we found God and just gave ourselves to, God, and just watching him be so excited for something. And as we had like prayed for things to fall in line, he had tried to become a police officer for, I think a year. It was emotional. He would go to do his physicals. You'd have to go do your run and your push-ups and all these things. And then they do an oral board screening. So he'd sign up for these different cities and he'd have a few that were like his top picks. And he would go to them and he would be denied. And at this time, it wasn't, right now you have like 10 people who show up to try to become a police officer. But at that time, he was going against 100 to 150 people.
It used to be the cool thing to do.
Yes. So at every single time he'd go for his physical or oral board, there's over 100 people.
Wow.
And he would be denied and would be denied. And he'd come home and he would be a mess. And so physically trying to just take care of the kids and make sure I was doing my part as a mom and wife and supporting him through it was exhausting. And
probably because he also felt like he wasn't serving his family or like providing or.
Yes. And
it's devastating for a man.
Absolutely. And at that time, I was hey, I have my Monday through Friday. Like, here I am. I was in that medical field. I was very comfortable in my career at that time. And so I was stable, but it was his turn to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so he actually signed up for the military. He went into the reserves. And so I had a 1-year-old at home and a 4-year-old. And he left for the Army Reserves and he left for 5 months. So I stayed home. I mean, I worked still, but I was at home with the girls and I was potty training this 2-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
I was teaching Sophia to read and get ready for kindergarten and just doing the routine of being mom, getting him up every morning, taking him to school, going to work, pickups, dinners. I mean, it was for 5 months, it was me and the girls.
Yeah.
And so we did it and I really wanted to support him. So the reason he went to the military was it gave you extra points.
Oh.
When you would try to become a police officer, you were put higher.
Okay. In
the pile of applicants. You were pushed to the top. And so he did that. We started attending CCB and going to church and, our family was falling into place. Our marriage was falling into place. And I remember Mike got the call that he was right between Phoenix and Glendale and they were giving him his offer for Phoenix. And he was like, I don't know that I want that. And he turned away Phoenix without having anything else in line. And then Glendale called him and said, this is where we want you. And I think that as a police officer's wife, you hear a lot, the stress and anxiety and worry while they're out. And it's so scary. And you want them to come home to, us. Like I want him to come home to me and the girls. The girls need their dad. I need my husband. And so what was really neat is he went through the academy, long days, long nights, and he studied all the time. Just that was his focus. And so he went to the academy. And when he got out and was, finally with Glendale, he had his sergeant was a Christian sergeant.
Oh, I love
and
that.
It was like, wow, God really put this into place for him, gave him his first year on the field a Christian sergeant to look to. And he was able to share his story and be honest with where we were at, where he was at as a man, as a father, as a husband. And so I think having God show us that it was his timing and his place, it actually gave me more of a peace. So when he went out, I didn't feel stress and anxiety.
I
was like, no, like God's got him and God's going to protect him. Like he did it in his timing.
Yeah.
Had he done it years before, we probably wouldn't have survived it.
Yeah.
But it was God's timing. And so it was actually not as scary as I thought.
Yeah.
But I will say there were a few calls that Mike would call me. We had this like little system that if there was something really big going on in Glendale, because he works where we grew up in South Glendale. And so he's seeing people that he used to coach, and he's like arresting kids that he used to coach. Yeah. They're like, Coach Mike, and so it's kind of surreal for him to see the area, and he wanted to make that difference. But there were a few times where he would call me and be like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm okay. And he'd hang up the phone. And then I'd send it out to his whole family. That was kind of our little routine. Like if there was a big thing going on in the city and you knew it was going to be on the news and the radio and everywhere, then it was just like,
let us know you're
just
okay.
Let us know you're safe. And so I think he's had to do that 3 times where he's called me and said, hey, like I'm okay. And so there's been a few little moments of anxiety, but I would say overall, it hasn't been as scary as it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How, I think one of my favorite things about your family, and that I think is different from a lot of families, and I think why we connected so well, is that you guys love to be out with your girls. You love to go out with your girls. You love to do dinner with your girls. You love to go to games with your girls. Like you are like a family team. Like, how would you say growing up the way that you did, pretty lonely, not having close siblings and also kind of fend for yourself, what would you say shifted that for you? And why did you and Mike make family time together a priority?
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of goes back to our roughest part of our marriage is we had to take a look at our lives and where we were. And is this what we wanted? What did we really want marriage to look like? Mike and I have been together since I was 17 and he was 19. We definitely have grown up together, and we could have either grown up together or grown apart. And so we had just looked and said, this is not what we want. I come from 2 parents who were doing the best that they thought they could, and they stayed together and were miserable. Mike comes from a family that's divorced, and so he watched what that looked like since he was a young child, and he knew he didn't want that. And so we were like, okay, we need to make a change. If we're going to be married and have this one life together, then how do we make it amazing? And how do we enjoy it and love each other and have fun? And so really it started with me and him. It wasn't even about the kids. We actually took the girls out of the picture and we said, what do we want? Because ultimately at the end of the day, if we're deciding to do this thing, it's going to be us. And so we were like, we don't want what we've seen. That's not what we want. And so it's actually been great lessons for us. Like we've been able to look at our families and take the good things that come from our families, right? It's not all bad. There's some really good things that our families have done for us. And so how do we make it even better for ours? And so we looked at that, and then our girls were like, man, we want to be present and involved. I don't want to miss out on games and activities, and I want to go to dinners and laugh and be silly and go to the movies and vacations, and I want to enjoy it. If I only have this one life and tomorrow's not guaranteed, then I want to enjoy the time that I've had, and I want them to enjoy it. I want them to see that they had a mom and dad who loved them and just made the effort and was present.
And so we'll take our kids out together. I mean, we've vacationed a couple of times together.
Just a couple.
And we've also done a ton of events and different things together. But the way our kids are able to connect, and then actually, I'm proud to say that Jessie and I would like to say it's you and I and not our husbands, but we started, a couple of years ago, we started a talent show. And we combined our names together, Sauceda and Centers. And so Sauceda talent show. Actually, it's a Sauceda extravaganza. Sorry. Let me say it right. extravaganza. And so we did a talent show, and we did it in a high rise at Rocky Point, and it was our second place. We stayed at a house in Rocky Point, and then after staying at the house, we're like, "Ooh, let's check out Las Palomas." And then we're like, "Let's just figure it out." And so we went and stayed there, which I hate the balcony, but it is really pretty.
High.
Oh my gosh, it was so
really
high. So we did our talent show, and every year we've done a talent show since, and we've grown it. But the best part is our kids are so dorky and innocent and funny and fun. And we've just made it work. And you and I have been our husbands at times. We did a Britney Spears episode. We've done family ones with our families, but it's like the core memories. I think that our kids will just carry on. And I hope that they kind of reflect what we do as friends, even with their friends and their significant others' families and all that.
Absolutely. I think just that time that we've had together and just finding the right people to surround yourself with. And our kids, when they're together, take out all the outside distractions, and they really are just present and enjoy. And I think we do the same thing. I've kind of noticed in the last year of our friendship, you know, going through photos, we have less and less, but it's not that we've done less. It's that we've been so present in the moments that we've taken less pictures because our phones have been down and we've just enjoyed it.
Yeah, I would agree. One of the things that oh my gosh, it makes me laugh. One thing I would say that has been so fun is watching our husbands just love each other. Like it's like another world. And I would say that like girls are always a little intimidating to like get to know.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a while, and it even took my family a little while to like ease into you, because it was like, who is this woman who's come in who says she's your BFF, but we don't know her that well. Like
she's at all these family things now.
I know.
It's not even
Why
just the kids' birthdays.
Family? She is not family. This is not okay. We very much have pushed the boundaries when it comes to extended family versus blood family. And then our husbands have this deep love for each other where they've like literally almost fought each other a few times because they so have each other's backs, but then they have our backs. And like if Ryan's being an ass to me, then Mike's going to go after him or whatever it may be. Yeah. We've just been through some big stuff together, but I think it's been very, not just healing, but it's been very nice to see men be able to have friendships that are like authentic friendships. So not just on the surface, but like, let's actually talk about the really deep stuff.
I think it is hard. It's hard to find a couple that you guys can both enjoy, like as a husband and wife. I mean, it's easy, like, oh, here's my girlfriend. But then the husband's like, oh, this is so awkward. Yeah. Who is this guy? And I think for us, it's been really easy, and it's been helpful that they loved each other first.
I know they did. They did love each other first.
And then me and you we have this like easy friendship. Yeah. It's just easy. Yeah. We talk about the ups and the downs, and we've been there, but I think you and I alone, just speaking of both of us, I think our friendship through all these years has just been easy, and we've just like grown more like in love with being best friends. But
I also think it's weird though, because you're not like a girly person. You're not like you don't have all these girls surrounding you. Like you're like not like, oh yeah, let's do the thing. Like cheerful and blah, blah, blah. You've always been like, I'm a hard worker. I love my husband. I'm a mom. Like, let's get going. Let's push through. But like, then I was like, here, Jessie, come meet all my friends and come into my cult. Come into my Ohana group. So we have our one-on-one time, but I introduce you to all these girls, and that's not like the norm.
It's not. I think it probably stems from being younger and in Glendale.
Really just pushing you out of the boundaries.
You are. I hung out with nothing but guys in high school because it was easy. There was no drama. And so in high school,
that's why I like being friends with you, because it's more like drama. A guy thing.
Yeah.
Like we're like, like, hey, no, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Or I am okay.
But we have the deep relationships, so it's nice. But yeah, girl relationships are difficult sometimes. It's hard to get that. And I think even just, working in the medical field and watching, it was like high school, all the cattiness. Yeah, it's very female dominant field. Yeah. And so it was just so catty, and it was like the drama at this workstation, and then in that department this was going on, and I was just like, nope, I'm gonna just focus on my work. I'm gonna do what I gotta do and
better yourself.
Yes,
and move your way up,
and I'm here for my patients. I'm gonna love them, and I'm gonna work hard, and I'm gonna just keep pushing, but I don't have time to sit in the drama.
So here we are now as teenage girl moms.
Yes.
Fighting for them to not have to be in some of those situations. What are can you share like one or two experiences that you are now like going through with a teenage daughter?
Oh gosh, Sophia has some Glendale in her. So I have to watch that sometimes. Oh, she is little hood. I'm like, girl, you didn't grow up there. But man, so with these situations, I think as Sophia is obviously, my 13-year-old, so she's the one that is going through it, and Araya is slowly following. But I think just teaching her to be strong. Like she's gone to school and has been the new girl at school, and she is gorgeous. She is athletic. She is so smart and funny. Yeah. So she's literally had to start a new school in 6th grade. Second half of 6th grade, and she was bullied. And so it was like, okay, you're going to get through this. Like, these are the reasons why they're bullying you. It's because you're beautiful and smart, and they're intimidated, and they don't even know what to do with this new girl that walked in. So just trying to remind her who she is and that her identity isn't in those girls at school or even the boys at school that were bullying her. Like, you're not who they say you are. Those are just words, but they don't identify you. We've raised you this way, and we love you. We see the true you, but also God has bigger and better things for you. Yeah. And so that's been our biggest thing, is just instilling in our girls that those outside things don't define you. Yeah. Like, you are who God has made you to be, and you will continue to be the good person and love people. Even in their darkest moments, you still love them, and you just show kindness. And we always say Saucedas love hard. And so you just continue to love hard and be yourself, and other people will figure it out. And if they don't, it's their loss. Yeah. So just trying to make sure that they remember who they are.
Yeah. If there was something that you could tell your 18-year-old self about like getting through the grinding years, what would you say?
Oh man, what would I tell myself? I think I would tell myself to continue to look in the mirror and just to really see myself. And that it's going to be okay. Yeah. And that, like I said, when you can just look straight on at something and not let the outside, distractions or world define you, like, it's going to be okay. And there's going to be hard moments, but look in the mirror. Like, this is who you are, and to stay true to that.
Yeah. I love that. Tangibly, you work full-time. Your husband, luckily, sometimes you guys have different schedules, and so he's able to drive to sports. Your girls are in club sports. They kick butt at soccer. What are some like practices or routines you've put in place at home so that you can get your kids to school, get them home from school, get homework done, do the sports, like have dinner, like all these things that come from taking care of your house, but also working full time. What have you done to help?
I think as moms, we have to surround ourselves with the right people. And I will say it's definitely taken a community in raising our girls. I don't think that we could just do it ourselves. I think having the support, whether that's, my neighbor taking the kids to school for me, but at least getting them up in the morning and making sure that they're fed and that they're dressed. And one of the things I do, Araya struggles in the morning. She is not a morning person.
She's got Lion King hair.
It's Mufasa.
So big.
It is. And so one of the things that I do for her, which is so helpful, is I have a whiteboard and I dry erase what I need her to get done in the morning and to check it off, and then to give me a call when I'm on my way to work and I know she's all done, and we'll FaceTime and I'll be like, okay, show me your teeth. Let me make sure you brushed them. But I'd say having little checklists has been so helpful, and just reminding my kids, these are the things that I need to have done. And then crock-pot meals are a lifesaver. So that's been really helpful to make sure that we're still getting that done. And then we have everything on our calendar. And so just making sure we know who's going where, who's doing what, who's got pickup. And so I think just having the support of Mike and then other friends around us that we can say, okay, if you can get this kid here, then I'll meet you. Yeah. And so that's been really helpful. And, we still make sure that we have dinner together. So on those off days of sports and crazy, I think it's okay to have the craziness and maybe not have every day look the same. Yeah. But I think on those off days, we make it a point to sit at the table, pray and have dinner, or we go out and once a week we treat ourselves and we all go to dinner together.
So fun.
And so I think just making that time and giving yourself some grace. Yeah. I think as moms, we're really hard on ourselves. And so one of the biggest things is giving yourself grace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, one of the things, because Sprinter Mom Lashes On, I got you into lashes.
Yes, you got me on them.
You didn't have lashes before, and then you were in a wedding a few years ago and reached out and ended up hooking up with my lash girl. Yes. And then we've ever since have been doing the same thing. What is another way you do self-care for yourself on top of all the things you do? How do you take care of yourself and show your girls that it's okay to take care of yourself too?
I get my nails done. Nice. And so they know that I have to have my lashes on. But I also will get my nails done. And then another way that I show my kids that I take care of myself is I need time with my husband. So Mike and I have a date night once a week. Now, to be realistic, we don't go out to dinner. We don't have this big old dress up thing. Like, I've literally gone in sweatpants before. It's not glamorous. But we go, and it's like, even if it's 45 minutes, we have different spots near our house, different little restaurants or close bars that we'll go to. Yeah, 10 minutes from the house. Yeah. And so the one thing that I do to care for myself is I need time with my husband. Yeah. And so, yes, I have the lash appointments that gives me my me time, my nail appointments, but also I need time with my spouse. And so once a week we go, and this was a habit that we made last year. And so if I don't make it to a date night, Mike and I don't make it, the girls are like, hey, you guys haven't gone to dinner or had your drink. Like, mom and dad, go, we're fine. Like, we're okay at home. You guys go do that. So that's one big thing that I do for myself.
That's amazing, which is also showing them that you're spending time with your husband. Yeah. Okay. Before we go, because Jessie will be back because she's always around me. What is one thing? So you work with Ryan, my husband. What is one thing he does that drives you insane? Or what is, two things. What is one thing he does that drives you insane?
You're trying to get me in trouble. You're trying to get this on camera.
No, I totally am. But then what is something that he is insane about?
Oh, that he's insane about?
He has such weird quirks.
But I feel like working with your husband for as long as I have, it rubs off on you. Oh, no. So now you have the quirks? Does Kevin's chewing bother you too? All chewing bothers me. I think what your husband does, though, is he complains about everybody's chewing. Even this week in the office, so him and Kevin are across from each other now, and he was yelling at Kevin. He's like, I could hear you chewing from here. And so he's like, let me chew louder for you. But your husband will be on a Zoom meeting, and he's got his peppers, and he's going to town.
It's just as loud.
So loud.
So like no one else is allowed to eat loud,
No.
but Ryan is.
Yes, it's okay for him to do it. So I can't stand the chewing either now. I'm like, oh, it's like,
Oh, no, you can't do it.
no,
Oh
I can't
my
stand
gosh.
it. I'm telling you, it rubs off on you.
Oh, that's so funny. The
But-
chewing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you again for coming
Oh, thank
to
you.
my house. Sprinter Mom with Lashes On. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us today for the Sprinter Mom with Lashes On podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.